thought it's the area on the second ling all around him. That, of course, was where Singh came in. "I work security there," he says, waving his cigarette animatedly as he speaks, the smoke swirling all around him. The establishment, Singh tells me, occupied 3 floors of an old shop house. The main area on the ground floor, a members-only area on the second level, and the office on the third. Singh was still very much a night owl then, so the bar made perfect sense as his next career move. He thought its loud crowds and even louder music would be a welcome change, especially after the deafening silence of working the night shift in a haunted condo. What he didn't take into account, however, was that the crowds would always eventually leave, and the music would stop. And what waited for him in the silence of the bar might just be as bad, or worse, than what he faced in the condo. It was a Saturday night during that year's Hungry Ghost Month. Well, closer to Sunday morning, really. The bar had closed, and its patrons had cleared out by 3:30 a.m. Now, at 4:30, the only people left were Singh, a 20-something bartender named Martin, and the owner, a woman in her late 40s named Sandy. The 3 were gathered in the office on the 3rd floor, celebrating with several rounds of drinks. It was not unusual for Sandy and a few of her staff members to enjoy a beer or two after a particularly busy night. But this night was probably the busiest the bar had ever seen. Singh recalls breaking up a couple of fights and tossing out at least one handsy guy. "Yeah, got more lah, but I also can't remember," he says, still tense, even as his tone lightens just a little. Nothing brought the mood of the night down for long though, and the bar's patrons were spending like there was no tomorrow. Most of the staff headed back once the bar had closed, but Martin was a night owl too, which, as it turns out, worked to his advantage. Feeling especially generous that night, Sandy brought out a particularly strong blend of whiskey to celebrate. That's why, despite being a decent enough drinker, Singh found himself stumbling to the office's washroom after only 4 glasses. Singh went about his business rather shakily, thankfully not making a mess. As he stepped back out of the cubicle though, someone brushed past behind him and into the cubicle beside his. Martin, he assumed. Singh jokingly yelled out that the younger man shouldn't be so rude to his elders, then started washing his hands. He stared at his reflection the whole time, trying to decide if he was actually physically swaying or if the booze had caused his vision to blur. Whatever the reason, Singh decided that splashing his face with water would certainly help. As he looked up from the sink though, he saw what he thought was Martin exit the cubicle behind him. It was then that Singh realized that whatever was behind him clearly wasn't human. Squinting through the water on his face, Singh now saw that the thing moved slowly, strangely like a beast-like person. It was still shrouded in shadows, somehow just outside of the reach of the washroom's fluorescent lights. Singh wanted to run, but he had enough experience with things from beyond the veil of the ordinary. It was toying with him, and if he ran, it would only just attack him. So, he waited until after what felt like hours, what was probably no more than a few seconds, the creature stepped into the light. All Singh remembers was its face. It was terrifying beyond words. Its flesh warped, its hair a tangled mess that seemed to move all on its own. A twisted mockery of a woman's face. A demon. Seng ran, stumbling out of the washroom. In barely concealed panic, he told Sandy and Martin that they needed to go home immediately. Seeing the look on his face, the bartender and the owner did not argue. Without cleaning up or even switching off the lights, the three of them left the building. A building that suddenly felt a whole lot older than it ever had before. Later that night, just as he reached home, Singh received a text from Sandy. "You saw Tatya, is it?" the text read. Singh didn't know who this Tatya or Big Sister was. Sandy offered to explain it to him later that Sunday afternoon, while the sun was still up. Tatya, as the demon was nicknamed by Sandy, was a creature that had haunted the bar ever since they moved in. Some of the staff members with a third eye had claimed to see a strange version of a woman lurking in darker corners. Tatya hadn't harmed anyone before, let alone been this upfront about its existence. Sandy told Singh that she thinks Tatya was angry. The offerings that Sandy had burned for previous Hungry Ghost months might have sufficed before. But as her business grew, the entity that lurked in her establishment demanded more too. When Sandy arrived at the bar that Sunday afternoon, she carried with her paper effigies, beautiful dresses, shoes, playing cards, and makeup. She also had enough food for a whole family. Together with Martin and Singh, Sandy headed out to the alley behind the bar. There, they burned the offerings, laid out the food, and lit joss sticks, all while apologizing for not giving Tatya what it was due. For the rest of that Hungry Ghost month, not only were the staff and patrons left alone, but the bar earned even more than before. No matter how busy it got though, Sandy never stayed after hours to drink with her staff again. Just to be safe, Singh decided that he was done with night shift work. He quit on the very last day of that year's Hungry Ghost Month. Singh stubs out his fifth cigarette for the night and shoots me a look. I ask him how many apparitions he sees around me. A lot, he says simply, trying to keep his attention on me and not look directly at the spirits that are apparently following me around. I thank him, then take my leave for that night. As I walk away, I look back and see that Singh seems relieved.
Lost in his thoughts, Brian looks around this quiet neighborhood, just a little off Jalan Pelikat, as he absently sips on his coffee. He's been this way since just after he arrived and greeted me. It's weird, he says, more to himself than to me. So much has changed, but so much is still the same. Brian moved to Sydney over a decade ago to further his studies. Once he was done with university, he started to build a life for himself there, driven more by momentum than by any affection for the city he had grown to call home. These days, he's a junior partner in a reputable law firm and happy in a committed relationship. Aside from regular Skype calls with his parents, he hasn't thought much about Singapore since leaving, let alone this neighborhood. But so much of my family is tied into this area, he says, a hint of wistfulness coloring his tone. His father and mother were neighbors back during those halcyon kampung days. And that's how they met. In fact, their homes were just a short walk away from here, along Charlton Road. I can't imagine what it must have been like for them to see how much this whole area's changed, he continues. He goes silent for a while before his attention finally snaps back to me. He apologizes for spacing out, and I tell him with a reassuring chuckle that it's fine. He tells me that he's not the sentimental type, or at least he didn't think he was. I guess this place has more of a pull on me than I thought, he says. As the sun begins to set on this Thursday evening, I see what he means. It might just be my imagination, but I sense something. I'm not sure what it is, or even if it's tied to this area specifically. But just as quickly as it came over me, the sensation's gone again. I shake my head slightly. As word gets around about me, I've begun to take on more interviewees than I used to. One of my previous interviewees, Neil, is friends with Brian. The pair were catching up a week ago, since Brian's back in town for his sister's wedding. Neil had heard this particular story before. A tale of Brian's father from back in the old days, and told him about me and what I do. Not only did he convince Brian that we should meet up, but he even suggested that we specifically met here. Neil told him with a laugh that it might help set the mood. I don't think Neil realizes just how right he was. I make a mental note to take a short break after this interview, then fish out my recorder. I switch it on before Brian can get lost in his thoughts again and ask him to start from the beginning. It was 1967. Brian's father, Andrew, was a bit of a flirt back when he was a teenager. This was before he'd met Mum, of course, Brian says, with a smirk. He then adds, rolling his eyes, "From what he's told me, the old man used to get into way too many fights because of his flirtatious ways. Overprotective brothers, jealous boyfriends, even strict fathers. He had earned a reputation among all of them. It was after one such fight at a nightclub in town when he found himself skulking home. According to Andrew, this was one of those rare instances where he really was just chatting with a girl around his age. Then, a boyfriend and his friends stepped in. Outnumbered, Andrew was unceremoniously tossed out of the club. About an hour later, he was passing by the old crocodile farm along Upper Serangoon Road, navigating the tree-lined paths that led him back to Charlton Road. Brian shivers a little, thinking about that area. Even when I used to walk through there as a kid, it was still pretty creepy at night, Brian says. I nod in agreement, having traveled through that stretch before. Andrew, however, would have disagreed. While it might have been ominously gloomy, with little more than the moonlight to illuminate his way, Andrew had told Brian that his walks home never frightened him. He claims that he always found it weirdly soothing, Brian says, then shrugs. How much of that is true and how much of it is just him trying to appear tough for his son, I'm not sure. Either way, Andrew was used to the quiet of this trek, almost never encountering anyone along the way. Except on this one night. As he neared Charlton, he caught a whiff of something sweet, like the familiar fragrance of a flower. Before he could figure out where it came from, though, that smell grew from a lingering scent to something far more overpowering. Something so sickeningly sweet that he felt like it was choking him. But just as suddenly as the fragrance appeared, it vanished, replaced instead by a creeping stench of rotting flesh. It wasn't as strong as the sweetness that preceded it, but it was pungent enough to drive the birds in the trees into a frenzy. Or at least that's what he thought at first. The birds squawking grew louder and louder. It wasn't panic that Andrew was hearing. It soon dawned on him. It was aggression. Their squawking quickly seemed to almost melt into one piercing noise. Andrew had never heard any bird that sounded like that. He glanced upwards, towards the noise, and saw a large shadow move through the leaves of the trees. Its branches shook for a little before becoming eerily still. In that moment, Andrew's eyes were drawn down to the tree's base, where he suddenly realized there was a girl standing and smiling at him. She wore a flowing, plain white dress and was surrounded by overgrown grass. She was pale, with long, black hair. The girl looked around his age. "Apa khabar?" she greeted him. Her tone was warm and even had a friendly sing-song quality to it. Andrew should have been terrified, but he wasn't. He knew what she was, Brian tells me. But it was like he was under some kind of spell. He greeted the girl pleasantly, slurring a little, almost as if he was half asleep. "Temankan saya balik," the girl said. "Walk me home." It wasn't a request. It was a command. Andrew agreed, then asked her where she lived. "Dekat Jaltan," she said, her smile widening. After a minute or so of casually strolling along, the girl asked Andrew whether he found her pretty. "Very," Andrew said. It was the truth. Not a line that he would have normally used on another woman, or even a lie tainted by fear. Andrew was surprised by his own honesty, like some kind of weight had been lifted off his shoulders. The girl told him that he was a charming boy, but he must be kind with that charm. "Macam aku," she said, with an unsettlingly knowing smirk. "Like me." It was strange, hearing her call him a boy when she looked like she was a teenager too. She said that she had been watching him. His pulse began to quicken, even as her spell kept him weirdly calm. She said that she knew what was in his heart, that he had a good heart. She told him, her tone still warm with that sing-song quality to it, that her kind did not just kill. They killed those who deserved it. Then she said, with haunting finality, "Aku harap kita tak berjumpa lagi." I hope we never meet again. Andrew suddenly saw where he was. Right in front of his home. The girl kept on down the path into the darkness of the night. That sickeningly sweet scent from before, faintly in the air. As Andrew watched her leave, though, he finally noticed something. She had no feet below her plain white dress. My father cleaned up his act after that night, Brian tells me. No more treating women like notches on a bedpost. 2 months later, Brian's mother moved into the home right next to Andrew's. Dad always tells me that encounter was probably the best thing to ever happen to him. That sometimes we need something drastic to remind us who we really are. He says that he doesn't think Andrew would have been ready for his mother if not for what happened. I smile as Brian gets that faraway look on his face again. This place really does have a special meaning to their family. I pause as I look around the neighborhood. And from behind one of the blocks, off in the direction where I would walk if I wanted to head towards Charlton, I see, or I think I see, a figure in white. I shake my head and take another look. Nothing. Yeah, I tell myself, it's definitely time to take a short break. Well, maybe. Maybe after the Hungry Ghost Man.
Jonathan shifts awkwardly as I place my recorder on the table. Around us are the sights, sounds, and scents of his neighborhood hawker center, an almost uniquely Singaporean eatery. Weekly lit signs illuminate all kinds of people from around the area. Middle-aged men and women yell out orders in a variety of languages, shouting over the tinkling of metal teaspoons against glass cups and the scuffing of utensils against the woks, almost as old as the hawker center itself. The smell of prata, noodles, rice, and so many other types of oily food waft through the air, mixed with the fumes of passing cars. Normally, all of this would bring a certain nostalgic comfort to any resident of the island city-state. Jonathan, however, continues to fidget, even as he sips from his cup of ginger tea. He looks like he hasn't had a full night's sleep in years. His skin is wrinkly, more so than anyone's in their late 40s should be. His eyes dart back and forth, seemingly looking out for some unseen danger that's waiting for the right moment to strike.
He'd already looked paranoid, even if he wasn't in a country known for its low crime rates. But there's another thing that Singapore is known for. It's ghost stories. I asked Jonathan if he's sure he wants to do this. He nods, hesitantly. He asks if I do this often, collect accounts of the supernatural specific to Southeast Asian countries, cities, and neighborhoods. I return a nod. He pauses for a moment, then asks why I do this. This time, I respond with silence instead, not wanting to delve too deeply into the details of what I do. He's scared enough as it is already. Instead, I switch the recorder on and ask him to start his story from the beginning. Jonathan grew up in Hougang, in the northeast part of Singapore, and has stayed around the neighborhood for all his life. He tells me that things were different back when he was a kid in the late 70s. He assures me that he's not saying this out of some sense of longing for a rose-tinted past. These days, kids just prefer to stay home and play video games, or spend hours going down their social media rabbit holes. But back in the late 70s though, all him and his friends ever wanted to do was play soccer in the fields surrounding the government-built apartment blocks. And with more and more of those blocks going up every day, there was a weird, unspoken sense of inevitability that filled the air, Jonathan tells me. It felt like the world that him and his friends knew was going away. No one said anything, of course. They were all still kids then, and these were the kinds of things that they couldn't articulate at the time. Not in words, anyway. Instead, they played soccer like every day was the only day that mattered. Whole afternoons after school was spent running through uncut grass. By day's end, their once pristinely white school shoes would be caked thoroughly with mud, as they spent hours dashing from one end of the field to the other, hoping to score the winning goal between the soda bottles that they'd set up as makeshift goalposts. All around them, the giant blocks, those harbingers of a changing future, loomed over them. But hidden within these blocks, some elements of Singapore's past refused to die. It was a Wednesday afternoon. Jonathan recalls clearly. His voice suddenly focused, his fidgeting dying down. Sivam, his childhood best friend, had kicked the ball a little too hard. He had shot out of the field and rolled into the ground floor common area of one of the neighboring apartment buildings. Jonathan was closest to the building, so he yelled that he'd get it, waving to his other friends as he dashed towards the block. As he reached the common area, however, he realized that he couldn't spot the ball anywhere. He looked around and around until even the field was out of sight. And that's when he heard what sounded like a woman calling out to him in a sing-song tone. Boy. Her voice was a weird mix of motherly and menacing. the sweet comfort of care somehow laced with something far more sinister. "Boy," she called out again. Jonathan looked around the common area, but didn't see anyone else. He answered with a hesitant, "Hello?" "Mencari bola kau," the woman said. "Are you looking for your ball?" Yes," said Jonathan, still looking around. Suddenly, he heard a ball bouncing against the cold concrete of the apartment block. But it sounded wrong. Almost as if someone had taken the sound and distorted it slightly. He spun around to see the ball bouncing, seemingly by itself, up a flight of stairs, just a couple of feet away. He ran towards the stairs, just in time to see the ball disappear around a corner at the top of that flight. "Mari sini," came the woman's voice from around the corner. "Come here." From where her voice emanated, an arm slowly appeared. Coffee brown and smooth, the arm seemed to belong to a woman in her 20s. Her nails were manicured and painted blood red. With her long, slim fingers, she gestured Jonathan towards her. He tells me that he knew that he shouldn't go to her, that something was clearly not right about this whole situation. But the sing-song tone of her voice compelled him. He took a step up. Once more, almost a whisper now, she called out to him. "Boy." Her arm seemed to sneak around the corner and down the flight of stairs, too far for any normal person to have stretched. Jonathan tried to turn away. He felt tears well up in his eyes. He tried to protest, tried to fight the pull, but all he could hear was that sing-song call in his head, until he felt someone grab him from behind. "I've been calling you since just now. You deafer." It was Sivam. Jonathan turned back to the flight of stairs. Nothing, except what looked like an old woman's gnarled fingers disappearing around the corner. Jonathan heard that there was a spate of what most people thought were kidnappings around that time. Children disappearing mysteriously. Some rumors claimed that the children's bones were used as the foundations for the then under construction Benjamin Shears Bridge. But Jonathan knows the truth. While other cultures have their bridge trolls, we have this. He starts fidgeting again. They, he tells me, have always been there. And they are not happy with how far we've come from those simpler times. I don't tell him that that's precisely why I do what I do. Why I chart to supernatural. By country, by city, and by neighborhood. I'm painting a clearer picture of what's going on in our world, and the world beyond the veil of the ordinary. I'm creating my ghost maps.
If you want to discover more of Southeast Asia's other side,
Subscribe now and follow us on social media. You can also be one of our supporters on Patreon. Look for We Are Hantu or click the links in the description. Ghost Maps is a Hantu production, created by Kyle Ong and Wayne Ray, with art direction by Jolene Lim, and recorded on Audio Technica mics. You can now support Ghost Maps on Patreon. Simply look for We Are Hantu or click the link in the description. Ghost Maps. Entry 100. For 4 years now, people from all around Southeast Asia have shared with me their ghost stories. As my reputation grew, I began to earn a nickname: The Collector. I am not the first person to collect ghost stories from around the region, though. Men and women before me have done the same. We are charting the supernatural in this part of the world. We are creating ghost maps. We do this to preserve these accounts for the people that share them with us, but also for the spirits that they encounter, good or bad. However, there are those who do not want us to do so. There are old entities that want to remain in the darkness and feed on fear. Tonight, I stand before one such entity. She's the same one that was responsible for my predecessor's death. Unlike my predecessor, though, I'm not standing before her alone. But before I continue, maybe it's best if I start from the beginning. This entity has been stalking me for weeks, toying with me. She appeared in my friend's dreams as a little girl. This is the form she took while haunting me. Her original form before she became what she is now. Previous interviewees like Neil, or peers like Keith, Alice, and Father Aloysius have all had visions of her confronting me. It was meant to be a warning. What it did was give me time to prepare. Last night, in my flat, I burned offerings and said prayers. Some of these prayers might be familiar to many holy men, but some are known only to a select few. These prayers were for protection, but also to call upon creatures and spirits that I knew were listening. Beings whose stories I've been collecting for the last 4 years. The first to answer didn't show herself, but she made her presence known. From the corner of my eye, I watched as a flash of white. The pale hem of a dress moved silently within the shadows of my home. From nowhere and all around me, a voice that sounded like nails on a chalkboard whispered, "Kenapa Anda memanggil kami?" Why have you called us? As far as I knew, The last person that encountered this spirit was a man named Ben, back in the 70s on Pulau Tekong. Before I could answer, though, I heard a man muttering to himself in a mix of Thai and English from within the shadows in another corner of my flat. His mutterings were incoherent at first, but then he seemed to address me clearly and directly. "I know what you want." I recognized this spirit too, from a story about a train ride to Chiang Rai, told to me by a woman named Veronica. Soon, more and more appeared. Some of them passed through walls, like the floating head that was last seen by an office worker named Susan in Golden Mile Complex, or the 6 men and women dressed in traditional Vietnamese attire, surrounded by a pale blue glow. Others creeped out from my other rooms, like the pocong from Kampong Rimba in Brunei that had terrorized a young man named Wadud, or the Hantu Tinggi that made its home in Changi. I started to notice that my flat had begun to fade away, as if our natural world reshaped itself to accommodate this many visitors from beyond the veil of the ordinary. Nearly 100 of them. As they arrived, I explained the situation. I told them about the old entity that wanted the world to forget about them. I said that, yes, maybe someone else might step in and take my place if I were killed. But, I added, it would only be a matter of time before no one else would dare cross this entity. And when that happened, all their stories would be lost forever. They said nothing to me. They made no promises and did not offer any help. But I knew that they heard what I had said. I could tell that they were angry, and that was good enough. A minute passed, and one by one, they all vanished, or crept away, or slunk back into the shadows. My flat returned to normal. I had done all I could. I knew it was time to confront the entity. Now, I watch as the creatures and spirits surround her. No, not her. Not anymore. It no longer looks like an innocent little girl. Instead, it towers over them, this beast with its black eyes and large, sharp, triangular teeth. Its jagged claws, the unmistakable brown of dried blood. Its body seems to change shape as it moves with alarming speed. Boils bursting and pus oozing from its dry, cracked flesh. The creatures and spirits from the stories I've collected are terrified, even as they rally by my side. I have no illusions about what they really are. The stuff of nightmares. But I recognize them. This entity, this leviathan from ages ago, It seems familiar. Like each of the other creatures has some facet of themselves reflected in it. But at the same time, it is beyond them all. It's the stuff of their nightmares. A glimpse at what they could become. I don't see which of them attacks first. But soon they're all tearing and biting and slashing at the entity. It's a horrifying sight. I thank every deity that comes to mind that at least for now, they're on my side. The entity, however, responds to their attacks with twice the fury and hatred. I watch as spirits are destroyed. I hear them scream as they're ripped from our place.
You can now support Ghost Maps on Patreon. Simply look for We Are Hantu or click the link in the description. Ghost Maps. Entry 101. I'm alive. A month ago, I was facing down an entity far older than anything I've ever encountered. A beast that lives on fear. A being that was responsible for my predecessor's death, that nearly killed me too. Nearly. At an empty coffee shop in Salita, the creatures and spirits from the stories I've collected over the last 4 years rallied alongside me. Many of them, I don't think died is the right word, but they were ripped from our plane of existence. It looked like I was about to join them.
So, what happened?
That's Keith. He works for an organization that has similar interests. He's here today at this coffee shop just off of Upper Serangoon Road, ironically enough, to interview me. I tell him that I'm not entirely sure what happened, but I have an idea. He asked me to start.
From the beginning.
I shake my head and tell him that it's better if I start from the end instead. My eyes were closed. I had accepted that I was about to die when I felt a strange coldness envelop me. I remember thinking that this wasn't what I thought death would feel like, because it wasn't. I opened my eyes to find the entity on the ground, but it wasn't the entity anymore. It had reverted to the little girl it once was, long ago, before it became the thing that caused so much destruction that night. I was confused, but as I looked around the coffee shop, I discovered what had happened. Word had spread. It wasn't just the creatures and spirits from the stories I had collected that had joined me. Others, from stories not yet told, came too. More ghosts, some of which had passed through me to get to the entity. And that's what that coldness was. But there were also more Hantu Tingi and Pontianaks and banana tree spirits. And even some creatures that had never found their way into any of the stories I'd heard. A wolfman, Hantu Raya and Hantu Tete, even something as detestable as an orang minyak. They all joined the fray, fighting though not for or with me. They didn't know me. They didn't care about me. No. They were fighting for their own survival. As the little girl that had once been the entity closed her eyes for the last time, the creatures and spirits, all of them, disappeared, faded back into their own dark corners, back into our collective nightmares. After that, I went to another coffee shop, had a kopi, and for the first time in a while, a cigarette.
I heard from the others.
Then, back home. I wasn't sure how to feel. It seemed like a fresh start for me, for ghost maps. As relieved as I was, though, I was also exhausted. I needed to rest. I spent a week recovering, tending to injuries, both physical and spiritual. And when that week was done, I checked my messages. Dozens of new stories had come in. I wondered how many of these might involve the creatures and spirits that came to my aid that night. I started to respond to a message. But before I could even finish typing out a single word, I stopped.
Hello.
This didn't feel right. I was rested, sure.
Di ba,
And
di
I
ba?
was physically ready.
Hello, sirs.
Ayan,
This-
tatlo tayo.
This was something else. You're not sure if you want to continue.
Ano bang
Came a
kailangan
voice
ko?
From the shadows.
Ano
of
pa rin
my
ako eh,
heart.
lock pa rin ako sa HR
It
40.
was familiar,
Party?
different.
Oo, gawin mo lang yung quest. Pwede ka naman tulungan doon para mabilis.
Hindi, nag-i-enjoy ako talaga mag-ano eh. Magbuo ng kung ano-anong gamit. Hirabami. I fucking hate this guy. Lumilipad kasi.
Ano ka ba weapon mo ulit?
Ako? Charge.
Charge blade. Ano ulit sa mileage, ano?
Punta ka sa squad.
Sa squad.
lobby. Naka-join si Jeff squad lobby. Eto, posted.
Yes.
Dati may notif pa rin naman pero may sound. Ngayon walang sound eh.
No tip saan?
Sa world, kapag halimbawa nag-post ka ng quest, yung mga other players sa mo, may maririnig din yun eh, bukod dun sa visual notif. Kaya parang...
What can I get you today?
Oh, cool! Meron na naman Discord na overlay. Kita tayo
Oo.
Dati pag nag-i-effects ako, walang ganyan eh. Hindi nakikita, dati ko pa nakita kay Mandy yan eh. Kaya, let's go Jeff. Nakana ko.
See ya.
Ba? 72 buta. Depart now.
Lagi ako rin eh.
Sobrang dali.
Pero
Sobrang dali na siya. Ako,
sobrang dali ka.
nakakart pa ako ni Jingad eh.
Synergy. Siguro mag-aala na yung pinakamalapit sa kanya eh. I mean, yung dive.
Let's have another hunt with no surprises today.
Alatri yan. Parang di sila comparable. Di sila comparable kasi DLC na yun eh. Ah,
Kailangan, kailan talaga dagdag nila yung elder. Mga elder. Naalala ko, una, ah, may patch daw sa April yung ano,
agile. Hmm.
ano yun, sa'yo. Butik nagdidip yung nagdidip yung FPS ko, nag-install ako ng Docker ngayon. Yung Docker. May nakita akong bagong tech ng dual blades eh. Parang only, tawag din. Ay, shit. Stop streaming more now. This is parang only demon flurry. Actually, ang daming tech ngayon eh. May mga hidden tech ngayon eh. Sigaw,
I'll put the materials I gathered in your item box.
Ayo.
ako nga, magbuo ako ng Godland set ngayon eh. Godlands. Ano eh, Godlands yung weapon ko. Ito, Godlands. Godlands. Pero masaya pakinggan yung Full Pulse na podcast.
Oo. Ulit-ulit ko nga yun.
Horror. O nga pala. Horror board nga pala. Boom. Tapon nga yung mga kalaro, medyo nababoard, hindi ba ang dali nga ng mga monster. Nagtatry kami lahat. Yung mga bago eh. Pagkapon nga, matik na ako bugbugin ng Chatakabra ang puti. Matik na ako matay sa Chatakabra. Gagawa ako. Tempered ba to? Nga tempered. Libo. Ito pa.
Patayin na rin natin yan.
Nawasak din. Actually, mamatay na yung Hirabami. Okay, patayin natin to. Alis. Ako lang.
Anong permastan?
Oo, God. Ano? Epal ka pa sa laban?
Oh,
Puto ka, boy!
so okay.
Mamamat... Ay, di. Bumalik si Rabami. Pero ang yung napansin ko sa build, at least dun sa dual blades, dati kasi naka-earplugs ako dati, dun sa world. Parang dito, hindi mo
Earplug
pwede
ka
sa...
sa dual blade.
Oo, naka-earplug. O, parang non-stop. Parang hindi mo pwede dito, parang hindi mo pwede i-sacrifice yung slots. Parang konti mga masyado ng slots dito eh. Parang hindi mo pwede i-sacrifice para dun sa earplugs. Saan ko nga ba napulot yung build na yan? Pero sobrang sulit nung naka-earplugs din. Ano yan eh, dire-diretsong damage eh.
Yun lang, paano pala to ano? Ay, bubulagin muna natin, no? Para bumagsak.
Ah,
Para
oo.
pwede
So parang ano, ang madaling i-build, ipataas ng affinity dito. Ang shit yung sa ano eh, yung sa ano, Artian weapons. Ang pangit talaga ng design eh. Sana may layered ano din eh. Layered weapon din eh. Ayan. Steady ka lang.
nangyari? Ay, hindi ako napag-drop.
Ay, huli nga pala. Ay, oo nga pala. Mamatay na nga pala eh.
Oo, nakita ko kanina sa ano.
Tapos merong thing ngayon doon sa Sword and Shield na ano. Pwede mo i-stack yung knock-up damage o kaya mounting damage. Kung anong trick mo. O din kung anong trick mo gawin doon sa monster. Ito pala, nag-build ako ng ano, ng gunlance na benta ko pala lahat ng ano ko, ng artillery na na level ko lahat. Kaka-trade up para sa rally. Sa defense.
Ba't mo binibenta? Ano yung meld?
Hindi, parang
Minimeld mo?
tinatrade na-meld ko accidentally. Yung nag-iipon ako nung artillery, kailangan ko ng artillery 3. Kaya hirap na hirap ako ang hina nung damage ko sa shells.
Ay! Meron ba dito ano? Mga deco na pang ano na, apat na yung pwedeng skills? Ay ano? 4
Meron yung
slots?
3, parang 3,
Yung 3 lang.
yung 3 plus 1,
Three.
oo, meron.
Okay.
Pero RNG pa din. Pero yung kunyari may kailangan ka na 2-star, ay yung ano, yung level 2 na jewel. Sa HR 100 mag-unlock yung melding nila.
Oh. Teka ako nga, no? Sige na, gawin ko na nga yun. And,
Oo.
kaya,
Mas madali na yun kasi wala naman ng cap sa 100 eh. So dire-diretso ka na eh. Yung 15, yung 40 na lang yung last. Nakita niyo na ba yung mga layered armor na ginawa ng mga tao? May mga Iron Man. May Doraemon. Patrick, hindi ko pa nakita yan. Buti.
yeah.
Dito
Ah,
mo nga.
hindi masyado natingin sa online content ng Wilds eh. Ah, hindi ako masyadong ano. Gusto ko, kasi ayoko mabahiran yung builds ko. Parang gusto ko ako gagawa lahat ng builds ko.
Okay.
Ayoko din eh.
Wait, try na lang ako. BRB lang. Gre-restart
Sige.
ako dahil sa Docker. Gre-restart ako eh. Wait lang.
Look at me, I have dagger. Ba, may, ah, talaga? Ako nga lagi kasi ako naka-secret. Teka, nasaan na yung putang inang nata na yun? Ayun. Hindi, kasi si Nata 'di ba laging nasa tent mo, tapos ngayon nasa mission, nandito siya sa gitna. Ah. Ay, Arc build laban to. Arc build. Sige, sige, siloyin ko to. Sige. Paiyakin ko tong puwang yun to. Ako yung Jindahan, tanga na. Nung kinalaban ko yung Jindahan, GG ako eh, as in triple court ako eh. Inaano ko kasi, ginag ginagaya ko yung ano eh, yung game ni Jok Jok. Sobrang mag-guard ni Jok eh. Ako hindi, madodge ako eh. Ah, ah. Tingin ko nga kaya ako madodge kasi nga ano eh. Parang all this time nasana sa hammer naman oh. Tagal ba to? Arc build eh. Nang. Ay talaga? Ano yun? Ah, okay. Paano yung housemate nyo? Ah, ah. Oh, mas mura eh. Ah. Hindi nila na-force sa'yo mag-explore. Pwede ka naman mag-secret ng ano eh, manual eh. Ah. Ah. Parang pag naka-secret ka, lagi nasa isip mo ano, auto na yon, parang gano'n, no? Yeah. Ah. Nagagalit. May ganun si Jin Dahad at saka si Ray daw. Ah, yung Ray daw meron din. Ulo, yung buntot.
Great source of quality meat. I can't help but want to touch them, but I'll refrain.
Eh,
Make sure to grab anything a monster leaves behind.
tang ina walang card. Ragnarok. Nag-grind ako eh. Naghahanap ako ng Monarch card eh. May mga naiba. Oy, Ray daw, Arc Build. Ray gun! Kaya maganda yung Ray daw kasi may Ray gun! Oh?
That looks like a good place to set up camp. This is a perfect campsite.
Laging nangyari sa akin yun.
Yeah.
Different. Somehow. The spirit that stepped forward wore an approximation of my predecessor's face. But there was more to it than that. This spirit felt like an amalgamation of all my predecessors. Are you saying I'm done with ghost maps? I asked. You could, at long last,
Ako din.
safely pass the torch to another collector,
Hindi ako nauusi
the
masyado dun.
predecessors said.
Yeah.
Its voice kept shifting with every word. From the deep gruff of an old man to the quietly stern tones of a middle-aged woman, to other voices echoing through the centuries. But it all really boils down to one question, doesn't it? The predecessors said. Did I want to do this?
Woo! Tukab big
It
dam.
was a question I had never asked myself before, because I never had the freedom to do so. Ghost Maps was an obligation, a calling.
Ano yung ginagawa mo yung fishing quest?
Now, however, it was a decision. I thought about
Kahit,
it for a
kahit
beat or two,
wiggle-wiggle mo.
reflected on all the stories I had collected, and the people I had met.
Natagalan ako
What
dun
it
sa
meant
yung
to
ba yun? Yung
To have
Gabi.
someone to speak with who understood. who could help bring some
Pero
sense to their
Kung saan
home.
nga ako pumunta dyan, pero nagawa ko siya dun sa base camp. Nung Scarlet Forest.
Finally, I
Sabi
nodded
daw,
to the
meron sa
spirit,
Oasis. Wala.
then picked my phone up,
Okay
and
lang talaga.
started
Kailangan
scheduling
talaga.
my next batch
Waiting.
of interviews. When I was done, I turned back to the spirit. But it
Wala,
was gone.
naubos na yung mga combo-combo ko eh.
I felt
Yung dalawa.
a weight lift
Sige.
off my shoulders. But there was one last thing I needed to do before I met anyone else.
Talk to me?
Keith asks.
Why?
Tangin na mo!
Patingin.
Hmm.
Patingin. Patingin nga na stream mo.
Ay! Kumain ako.
Pag naglalaro nga ako dito, background music ko yung mga clearing operations ng MMDA. Putik. Yung parang dati kay Bongnek, yung mga clearing operations, yung mga nagtinoto nila ng mga unattended parking, yung mga nasa sidewalk. 2 linggo na ako kinokonsume ng ganong video eh. Yung pinapanood ko.
Event trip mo.
Oo ka eh. Puro dami ko kasi podcast sa pinapahingan before eh. Eh wala, sunod-sunod na eh. Na-recommend na sa algorithm na sa YouTube eh. Sige.
Now commencing quest by order.
Papalit ako ng weapon. Baka... Ay, hindi. Ayan.
Will help with this quest.
I
Now be
believe.
sure to use them.
Ito, bablango nga. Bugin yan. Medyo annoying to kung guy na to, putik eh. Di-drill eh.
Am I alive? Am I alive?
Naalala ba yung Jeff, yung shinare mo na na tech para maiwasan yung Jindad Oo. Gagi may napanood ako video eh. Alam mo ginawa niya? Tangina nag-TP siya sa base eh. Di ba? Hindi ka Firecaster, manual TP eh. Bukas mapa. Oo. Barrel bomb tech Nope. TP tech. That's the key.
Wala nga alis. Ano mo?
Nagbabuff lang. Sundutin ang ulo. Get pa! Hindi na siya gumalo eh. Naalala ko tuloy yung KFC sa Bali doon sa pangalan, no? Sarap nung may sambal sauce eh. Wala silang gravy, sambal sauce yung KFC nila doon eh. The fuck boy. Kill ba? Missile sa puwet. Apa? You like that, ah? Sa puwet. Yung Wyvern. Ah, Gunlands. Oo, kaya
Yung ba ng paralysis, no? Oo. Naka-paralysis din ako eh. Hmm.
Hindi pa ready sa mature roles, sir.
Well done.
No.
Now let's continue.
Depende yan eh. Halimbawa sa Switch Axe, parang pagka nag-elemental weapon ka, mas malamang mas malakas kayo, mas maraming damage. Pero halimbawa pagka mas status ka, or halimbawa impact, di ba may ganun din yan? May impact, may elemental din yan. Mas stun kasi pagka impact eh.
Oh, yung
So
blast.
parang depende lang
Oo.
sa gameplay o sa style mo.
Nung naalala ko, noong una na yung dual blades ko, naka-blast ako eh. Blast build ako. Pero elemental.
Yan yung nakakatakot din eh. Kasi sobrang taas ng DPS na ano eh. Ng dual blade.
Oo. At may dalawang set ako eh. May RTN web. Dalawang set ako na RTN. So yung isang loadout ko,
Yes.
for some reason fire yung isa, dragon fire, pero RTN. Tapos yung isa poison saka paralysis.
Imba
Okay
yung
din.
ano eh.
Okay din yung
Imba yung
yung
elemental.
foray. Okay din yung poison tapos yung foray na skill. Para tumataas yung
Ginamit
crit.
ko na early game.
Ginamit mo yan.
Low rank. Na-enjoy ko eh.
A potential target has appeared. Check your map when you're ready.
Pota, mali ako time.
Post mo lang sir. May mga art girl din ako dito. Ang gusto ko. Ano na? HR?
Hello. Oh,
Itong Ray daw, may 5 pirasong relic.
yep. Anything catch your eye?
Sabi nila yung pinakamataas na DPS daw ngayon yung tatlong weapon, gun, lance, longbow, saka ano eh. Longbow. Bow. Longbow nga. Bow saka ano, long sword. Pero parang yung great
Hindi
sword
kasama,
may
no? Sword and Shield.
one tier
Akala ko
below.
kasama. Oh.
One
Oo.
tier below. Dami. Pero kasi yung mga tao ay puro sword and shield eh. May high chance sa mga mamatay ako dito. Parang. Ayan. Kaya. Flash pad lang. Talagang ano, no, yung ganyan, no, F1 talaga, no. F keys talaga yung shortcut na yan. Yung ginagawa ni yung ano, mo optimal.
Oo. Mga galing Iceborne din, di ba? Yun yun.
Nag-aamos, sinalo ko yun. Akala ko masishield.
See you later.
Nag-post na ako.
I heard from the others.
I'm gonna die. Kaya, kaso nakakikip yung pali ko eh.
Ay! Mag-hunt tayo no, ano? Mag-hunt tayo ng octopus. Ubusin natin yung galamay.
Lima lang yung kinakaya ko dun so far eh. Try na.
Lima, dami na. Ako na apat eh. Nakatry ako apat.
May one time nga nabag siya sa akin. Ano ba ginawa niya? Nag-spin to win siya. Kasi medyo non-stop mga 30 seconds. So, basta walang damage. Tapos tinatahan ko na siya inatahit para nakaputol ako ng dalawa.
Parang mo nga i-focus talaga na puputol ka lang eh, no?
Oo.
Para dumami.
Yun yung masaya kalabahanin dun eh. Yung gawin dun eh.
Pero ang weakness kasi niya mukha, bibig. So, hindi kokontrolin mo yung sarili mo eh. Wag sa mukha, wag sa mukha. Ayan. Eto, ma-unlock na siguro yung HR ko. Madali itong arc build niya, mas mahirap yung sa ano, sa beta test.
May isa pa. May isa pa after nan.
May isa pa. Yung last kasi sa beta test, 20 minutes lang eh, tapos yung basic na weapon gamit mo. Kaya na wala.
Sa beta test to ba
Mahirap
yun?
eh.
Beta test to lang nalaro ko. Actually, dinownload ko yung beta test, ano? Kaso yun nga, doon nalungkot ako sa performance sa benchmark. Oo. Kukulitin mo ako ha. Naka-shield ako, boy. Ouch me. Ooh. Nice. Bawat move mo, no? Sisigaw mo palagi. Anime. No power. Totoo. Speaking of yung mga ganyan, prepare, pinapanood ako yung ano, yung di ba Power Rangers nagtatransform, di ba? Or mga Sentai, di ba? Pag nagtatransform, binubugbog na niya eh.
Kaninang umaga, nakita ko na naman yung, yung Sentai na, tayo mo! Red!
Ay, tayo mo blue.
Tayo mo! Black! Oh.
Okay, Japanese.
Tayo mo! Ano pala? Red. Tapos tayo mo black. Being... Tayo mo brew! Tayo mo yellow!
Brew nga pala.
Oh, brew! Mark of Result Pendant. Magaganda ba yung pendant dito?
Oh, gab. Ay, talaga ba?
Oo nga, no? Saan? Saan nga?
Ay po, ay, okay boy pa ako. Okay, ay. Sub-appearance, sa loob ng ganyan eh.
Sa appearance, equipment appearance, okay.
Ako, accidentally ko nga lang din nakita yan eh.
Okay.
Ay, gagi. Mali yung dodge ko.
Wala bang exclusive pendant sa ano? Mga
Wala
beta
bang
testers?
pendant.
Yan ang lang.
Consumables lang yung beta test
Pero
for
para
last
to,
time.
ano? Top feline test. Baka ito.
Ay, oo man. Wala ako niyan.
Baka ito.
Dapat binokas ko lang pala yun.
Nakita niyo ba yung karakter ko? Tangay na, pambabae yung damit. Oh. May abs. May abs. Eto na-appreciate ko dyan sa Monster Hunter. Yan. Kasi pwede ka na magsuot babae. Yes. Yes. Para sa mga Hapon, 'di ba? Big step, 'di ba? Tanga na.
Ay, oo nga, no? Hapon, no?
Diba?
Oo nga.
Sobrang ano niyan eh. Mga misogynistic mo.
The tempered monster.
Sino, Eric?
Look at the size of that scar.
Eric? Hindi ko napansin yung pangalan. Hindi ko napansin yung pangalan.
I'll put the materials I gathered in
Yung
your
parang ano, si antivirus. Ay, may nakita ako parang feeling ko maganda yung build na yun. Yung mag-frenzy sa ano, sa dual blade.
Ay, yun yung build ko actually. Max. Max
Ah.
antivirus, max coalescence.
Coalescence, yan.
Max burst saka max max weakness exploit.
Para siyang ano, equivalent nung Alatrion set. Dati. Yung nauubusan ka rin ng buhay pero imba yung elemental damage. Pag elemental attack dual blade ko din lagi. Sumali ako para sa loots. Para wala na kayong pali ko.
Kaya pala gulat ako bakit si may bumalik sa camp. Yung pala yun. Ay, putik. Matay na naman ako! Yan. Ay, dodge. Di pa to na-mount eh, no?
Yan, sige, shotgun mo.
Ay, putik. Pa ba siya mamamatay? Allahu Akbar! Bigaw bigla eh. Ay, mamatay na pala siya. Capture natin para mas marami rewards.
Oo nga, no, ibig sabihin hindi pa ito considered Elder Dragon.
Hindi pa. Apex lang.
Oo, Apex Predator lang. Konti na lang i-uninstall ko na yun eh. Kasi yung trap.
Come dito sa akin.
Ah, ito. Ayan.
Come.
Come here.
Come.
Come here.
Chinik ng chinik sa
Chichipoy ka pa.
Oo, guys. Chipoy pa
Chichipoy
eh.
ka pa. Ay, ka tayo.
Uy, di. Lang niya.
Walat. Saan pupunta yan?
Dun sa huling layan talaga. Yung makari-kuryente na field ata.
Ah.
Natanggal na ba yung cup sa'yo, Mox? Hindi pa rin.
Ah.
Natanggal na. Ay, dito nga pala. Tapos na. Matagal mo na nga pala na inisip ko may Zosha pa. Wala na nga pala yun. Pambeses lang yung Zosha eh. So, one time thing.
Fuck, puta namatay ako!
Di ba yun nabatay? Come here, boy. Come here. Ay, may trap na nila dyan. Ayan.
Oo. Kanan to? Ah, shit, gano'n. Champion ako.
May ano, yung pwede siya ma-double hit ng yan eh. May run ako kahapon. Dalawang beses tinalma ng 2-7. So 5-4 kaagad yun dito sa part na to. Kasampi sa wow. So ay paralysis.
Uy, Coalescence. Stream Guardian. Yeah.
Di ko inasahan na sa'yo rin pala ako mauhulog. Turo ko na puso.
Yan, 48. Bang 48.
Bubog. Sabi
Yun, no?
ko ng iba ako'y ahas. Napakialam sa'yo lang pupulupo.
Na ano na, unlock na. Unlock. Unlock.
Mag-ano nga din ako, paralysis pa rin, di na to kumalaw. Yan. Ito ang build ko mo ano eh. Daming maxed out. Sobrang sulit. Pero yun na talaga. Yung antivirus talaga. Sobrang sulit. Yung sa ano ngayon, walang affinity ata itong weapon ko, pero nadaan sa ano, sa skills lang lahat yung affinity, mga 60 to 80% daw yun eh.
Sa deco o sa equipment mismo?
Combination, equipment sa kadayag ko. Ano na? Ay wait lang, ano meron ako dito? Ito, arc build oh.
Yung kamay ko ay low rank pa rin pala. Low rank pa rin yung armor ko sa kamay. Teka. Parang pogi ni Gunggong eh. Yung hot chick yan eh. Teka, silip lang ako. Ano bang ni Arkbell? May bagong ano. Ayun! Dami bago. Rarity 8.
Ito 10 relics. Ray daw sa kaano, Balaharat. Ay, dapat pala art. Mamaya art build. May marami akong art build dito.
Did you know
Eto
that
na.
Sensodyne now
Arkbell.
has a clinical
Balm
range of
braces.
toothpaste where you can both whiten your teeth to
Ay,
shades
yun,
and
yes,
also
yes,
get
yes.
sensitivity protection. It's just properly
Mag-weakness
formulated
exploit ka ba?
from a dentist's perspective. It's something that I've recommended to my patients.
At saka ano, ang na-appreciate ko pala dito part breaker. Akala ko kasi dati sa sa World ang part breaker pang basag lang eh. Dito may added damage siya.
May added damage. Oo nga.
Bago siya, bago. Hindi siya yung parang pang carb lang.
Dati palagi ako nakikip dun sa Gundams dun eh. Gusto ko kasi mapumutol ng buntot ka agad eh. Hindi nawawala sa build ko yun eh. Posted na pala.
Meron na.
Ito, pinupunta ko muna si Balahara siya muna. Yung Premium Max? Premium Max? Ano yan? As in, ano yan? Hindi siya regular meal? Hindi siya regular meal?
Hindi, kill. Di ba skill yun yung yung free, yung hindi mababawasan yung gamit mo? Ano to, dalawa?
Dalawa. Actually, so ganda ng dalawa kasi mas maliit yung HP nung
Yung dalawa.
mas maliit yung HP nila.
Akala ko din akala ko parang full HP to, tas 35 minutes. Hindi ko yata kain. Mas maikli nga
Hindi ka na malulungkot, malapit na ako, baby, pauwi na ako. Pwede ba wag ka na sa'kin magtampo? Dala-dala ko na ang kailangan mo. Miss na kita, ano ba kasalanan ko? Gusto na kita makita. Wag ka na sa'kin magalit, kasi baka lalo ka pumangit. Pero kahit na magalit sa'yo pa rin ako uuwi. Hindi nila ako maaakit. Bakit pa palagi ka masungit sa'kin? Mga pwede bang ayusin natin? Mga pagtatalo natin, minsan ay hindi nakakasawang unawain.
Walang beses lang kita na-paralyze. Galaw.
Basta ito ang lagi tandaan. Ang pag-ibig ko ay para sa iyo lang. Pero bago ang lahat ako ay pauwi na. Sandali lang, huwag mo na ako pagalitan. Dami ko namin sa iyo mga
Hindi kasama sale sa Wild ngayong Steam.
mahirap pala ang
Wala po ulit sila.
natutunan ko. Kaya mga pagkukulang ko, pagkukunan ko. Ako na ulit akunan mo. Miss na kita, baby, hindi ko na kaya. Sobrang
Nakita ko pala sa Facebook, si Carlo naglalaro din. Ano ito?
Ito nga eh. Dual blades din siya eh.
hindi ka na malulungkot, malapit na ako,
And,
baby, pauwi na.
So, mga EE pala ang ano. Oo, PSP days, no?
Oh,
Yung
PSP.
mga EE. Si B-Boy din kasi, ganun din eh. Oo. Eh ako, ang PSP, nakakaawak lang ako pag nanonood kay Mario Sao eh. Hindi ko nga alam na laro pala yung PSP. Alam ko
Laro ka na pala lang.
Alam ko paano.
Nalaw.
Tambal tao.
Giniginig siya yun.
Ano, huli ako dahil sa ano. Balahara.
Belly wrap? Gusto mo belly wrap? Giniginig. Ang aalis.
Yun, meron ka?
O nga pala, screamer pa. Hindi yata labas.
Hindi, kailangan nasa loob. Kailangan completely submerged yun.
Ah, okay. Ay, pasakay. Akin yung sugat mo. Never mind.
Oo, tanang sumbong.
Ako, nag-away na. Yun, lumagdag. Ayun, 4-5. Lorient na siya.
Kasama ko to sa narega.
Kasama ka ba doon?
Oo. Tatalanan ko eh.
Uy, may... Ay, bakit siya? Ay, hindi, ibang balahara yun. Nag-powder ako.
Click here. Click here.
Wala akong makatch eh.
Oo nga.
Enjoy the best.
Oo, tanga na yun.
Ay, oh. Oh,
Ano,
Douglas.
Oro? Uy, may isa pa. May isa pang balara sa likod natin.
Pero mamamatay na, mamamatay. O nga, no? O nga, nabibutot pala yung kalaban.
Gulat ako, ba't dalawa yung umakyat?
Patay na natin.
Mamatay na yan.
Capture ba natin? Pwede naman.
Bahala.
Okay. Siri na.
Gray.
Kung gusto ko nag-hammer pag ano, kalaban si Jobless eh. Sarap tokin ng ulo eh. Solid.
Nag-uusap ating mga katawan, parang gusto nila maging kawatan. At nakawin ng kamay ng orasan, iwanan, iwas ang problema sa daan. Pag mapungay mata mo, lumalabas ang ganda mo, pero ano akala mo, hanggang dito lang ito, basta sa akin ka sumama.
Tuturap ako sa 30 FPS. 37. Wala nag-drop. Ayun, okay na. Ayun. Nagano nga ako eh, nag-flash nga ako ng BIOS ng motherboard kahapon. Yun, solid.
Ay, tangina. Basta pala, ay! Ay, may klibuhan ko! Okay, kailangan nang umain pala. Holy shit.
Ay, paralyzed.
Ayan.
I'm gonna die. Oh no, I'm gonna die. Gumante. Ay, na-mount mo pala. Tataka bakit?
Naman. Ito na. Going down. Bawi. Tangin na yan. Puto la ulo. Tutoy pala.
Lulor ko dito sa kabila para ano.
Tara.
Up.
Tama ako dyan.
Up here. Yan na, nice. Ay, bitay.
Talo pala. Yan na.
Ay, sira na pala yun dyan. Bobo.
Akala.
Magpapowder ako. Lang niya. Pero pansin sira na pala. Bobo. Sinira naman na ba? Ayan.
Pero, manata ko sa ulo.
Oo. Gagi, ano naman, bumaliktad naman siya ng higa.
Bubuka mo ka. Opening.
Sorry.
Yun. Nice.
Bawal ka umalis dito, boy. Ay, paralyzed. Ay, ako pala bawal. Pag lumipad na talaga, pag naka-program na talaga siyang lumipat, di na siya pwede ma-flash eh.
May limit lang kaya. Sa World pwede.
Hindi parang naka-hardcode talaga siya.
Oo.
Uy, maraming bomb.
Wait lang, may buntot ba siya dun sa taas?
Hindi pa naputol eh.
Wala pa.
Click here. Click here.
Click here.
Click here. Click here. Click here.
Click here. Click here.
Click here.
Click
Click here. Click here. Click here to subscribe.
Yeah, I saw pictures. Guys, let's capture this moment.
Hana? Let me do it.
Nakagilimantel pa ako. May iba ba kayong ginagamit?
Ano, corrupted.
Corrupt. Hindi, jempotin ko to. Jempot! Jempot ng kamatayan!
हिल गए ना फिर से स्टार्ट करना पड़ेगा
घर ऐसा कि कहीं और जाने का मन नहीं करेगा प्रेस्टीज होम्स गुड लक सेइंग गुड बाय
Bilis pala.
Boom. Ay, gagi. Pulbos ng buhay!
Yo, putol na. Mukha.
Ay, mamamatay na. Trappy.
Oh no.
Pang ina. Umalis. Ika pa siya yun. Pagulawilipad. Nakatawa talaga yung maliliit na version naman sa Arc na trade. Ang liliit to ano eh. Yung buntot eh. Ano niya lumipad? Bago niya lumipad, no?
Ika, ang mamatay na daw kasi siya.
Pala yun.
Tatanggapin mo ba ako? Kung hindi kita masasakay sa auto.
Nalaro niyo ba yung ano? Yung Rise?
Hindi.
Libre sa ano yun eh, sa Xbox Game Pass eh. Kaso, ang graphics kasi nun parang parang luma eh. Kaalis. Ito trapping. Uy, dalawang ball. Gem.
May ano daw ako, may free meal daw ako kay Tashin. Si Tashin.
Ay talaga ba? Hindi mo ba, wala pa akong pinupuntahan na ganyan. Nag-offer.
Tumataas din pala yung rarity ng mga art yan ng devices.
Repeat yung ano.
Oh,
Pag ano, pag 7 stars and above. Usually. Ay, sige po.
tempered.
Kapal HP, di ano, dindahan. Ito talaga, magtitipi ako. Nakapagpapupa. So na ulit yun, I'm sure yun. Saan nga ulit yan? I shared siya yun. Hindi na natin. Hindi mo na ako. Kung saan di-update nyo sa mapa, kailangan mo pumunta. Kaya pala ko.
On Wish.
Where the fuck is Tashin? Ayun, ayun.
Wala eh, wala akong bore magali. Kaya ba?
Ako po si Flow G.
Mahina.
Ako po si Glock 9. For more exclusive videos, click here.
Hindi, ano na lang, art build na lang.
Click here. Click here. Click here. Click here. Click here. Click here. Click here.
Click here, click here.
Click here. Click here. Click here. Click here. Subscribe.
Parang mas masarap yung pagkain dun sa ano. Dun sa plains. Yung parang naan na may cheese. Eh, ito puro kamatis lang yun. Saka gulay. Oo. Ha?
Hindi tayo sa... Ito,
Tama
nag-post
pala
na ako.
Yan pala yung lugar na ano, no? Yung nasa ilalim.
Sa basin pala to, so medyo may... Madali kasi si art build sa plains eh. Yung sobrang dali niya bugbugin dun eh. Yung sa masisikip siya mahirap eh. Dahil sa AOE na.
Sa oil yan?
Lugar
na ako.
Kain lang ako. I-buff ko kayo ng, ano, ng hard shell saka ng demon powder. That buffs. Fine shot. Use of light.
Gusto ko lang naman ay maging popoy mo ba siya? Yun ang matagal ko ng pantasya. Tagal na kitang sinusundan, tinititigan at hindi maiwasan na ikaw ay titignan sa malayo.
Na-unlock mo na Mox lahat ng ano, yung material retriever. Yung 5.
Tatlo pa lang sa akin.
Tatlo pa lang. Sulit yan pag 5 na eh. Hindi ka naman problema sa HUD. Talaga nung HUD sa simula.
Talaga? Hindi ako may problema sa kain. Pero kasi, ano, nag-upre ako habang...
Nag-gather ka. I mean, no.
Pang-upre ng mantra.
Lang lahat ng yun ako ay tampalin para gising. Nako tamang panahon na antayin ko na lamang. Kasi wala para sa akin kay
Ay, ano? Hindi. Gor mag-ano ba to?
The Art Bell.
mamuti lang ang mata. Pag nagkantay
Ano, mamatay na agad? Sarap na.
kailangan ko lamang na bakit matapang ang gusto ko na magkatayo. Wala naman kasing ibang para ako sa takot ay magpapatalo. Kawawala nga ako puro ng tingin sa malayo. Kailangan ko yan ang nagpapakasal. Sinusundan, tinititigan at hindi maiwasan na ikaw ay titignan sa malayuan na pinag-iisipan ko ang harang paraan para ikaw ay malapitan. Kaso malaki ang pagitan. Hanggang kailan kaya mag-aabang kung may mapapala sa aking ginagawa na pagkatumaya ay huwag mapaniya. Tagal na di pala kung iisipin mo kaso hindi mo pala ko alam sinong sisisihin ko kundi sarili ko na lapis ang takot na baka mapahiya.
Powder?
Tortiman na kung ituring ay wala akong pakialam sa sasabihin na mga hibang nawa ng pakay sa nararamdaman. Sana di kayo ito maramdaman na makakilala na hindi mo alam. Nabiya ko kasi ganda mo ang fantasy. Yan ang pinong problema ko. Ako ay simple lang kasi ano ba kita mapapaibig?
Ay, putik.
Sa mga patay di makatibig. Baka diskarte ko pagkaloko mo kaso hindi ko na mapigilan na ikay masolo.
Nice.
Time out, time out.
Titira ko yung mga chains niya. Kapaputol.
Yan na. Ito na. Down in 3, 2, 1.
Hindi, basta na. Oh, paralyzed pala. Nice.
Yun! Sana, permas na niya.
Gagalaw. Hindi ka lang. Nice.
Yun.
Putol na, putol.
Nice. Nice. Ganda na lang.
Perma!
Grabe, sobrang purol na nung ano ko. Emergency heal lang ako. Magtatasa. Ano yung, parang ngayon ko lang nakita yung status na yan lost sight daw siya.
Oo nga.
Okay. Asan yung buntot?
Ito, dito.
Sa mga utak talangkang mabababa, hindi na bahala sa sarili, may tiwala. Dito
Para si Sister E.
tama ang hinala, hanggat may
Hindi na siya gumalaw eh.
kikislap ako
Imba?
ng parang tala. Kung anong mali, yun lagi ang napupuna basa.
May napanood ka ako video 4 na dual blade users sa lahat sila nakaparalysis. Di na ako malis. Kala ako. Di months na kala ako. Monster.
Ko ako ang pipiliin nyo kahit mag-mini-mini mo. Kakampi ko lang sarili ko.
Ay shit.
Walang pake sa kritiko. Kakampi ko lang sarili ko.
Kahit na mag-powder lang ako ulit.
Aray?
Powder. Para fresh. Ay putik.
Aray ko! Puta boy pa ba ako?
Powder! Powder!
Kailangan ko na rin maglagay niya ano? Powder.
Oo, sulit. Pero yung gamit ko yung ano na din yung upgraded na. Tapos 2 piraso lang yan Pang emergency talaga. Okay. Uy. Ayun.
Tanggalin. Ah!
Oh fuck. Am I dead?
Mali ako ng 2. Ah! I'm gonna die. No.
No, ay shit. Maling powder. Palikot na yun dito. Palibutan! Yes? Oo nga no, alayin na. Ba't? Basta na ano man na siya no, na ano man na
ang mga kokre ay nanguha pa na Bones.
Boom! Nice. Yun. Yes, nado-down siya. Ay, mamatay na! Capture!
Ayan.
Shit. Tanggalin ko ah. Tanggalin ko top dito. Ayan.
Click here to subscribe. One of the reasons why I picked Xenium was through like online research. One of the most attractive thing about Xenium is the affordable price point, and I found out that it was a non-invasive kind of a treatment as compared to normal braces.
Tangin
Oh my
na.
God. 3. Parang sa 7 stars. 7 stars ata, 8 stars yan. Papangit pala dun sa sa RTN weapon. Pag ako kasi dalawang ganun yung gamit ko. Minsan kailangan ko pa i-check yung equipment para malaman ko kung ano yung gamit ko. Nakakalito.
Tapos same itsura, no? Tapos wala.
Well, okay lang sana kung may visual Kunyari may onting kunyari kung poison, kung dragon medyo may kulay yung lock na onting. Wala eh. Paralysis. May post ko ulit yung kanina. Ay, titino ko lang kung meron. Bago ba? Ay, shoot ko. Oh, saglit. Meron na ata ako. Hard beat. Hard beat ba yun? Ay, wala ako sa investigation. Saan nga ba siya? Sa Scarlet? Oh, 4-star lang naman kasi talaga siya. Saglit lang yan. Save mo na lang. Ay, it's not tempered.
Ay, meron yata ako. Meron yata akong tempered.
Tempered? Ay! Bubugbugin natin.
Ay, hindi pala. Frenzied pala to. Hindi pala. Akala ko... Ito, Frenzied Ian Kut ko. Sige.
TP ako sa Scarlet. Baka meron. Actually kahapon mga pinagahan ko yan eh. Yan, saka yung kay Matrice. Tataka ako hindi ako makakuha na Ignite. Hindi ko makakuha yung manok. Mas ang taka pala, yung kailangan ko pala i-hunt yung pinakamahina. Ignite, yung kailangan ko kasi igniter niya. Craft kasi ako eh.
Meron na.
Ay, itong balaalala. Sa akin talaga. Saglit, comprehensive to, saglit lang to.
Oh, so, papatayin natin ito.
Papatayin natin.
Sige. Yung Frenzied ba, hindi siya considered na ibang monster? Parang yun din yun. Pero may virus lang.
Oo, may virus to. Parang regular lang. Pero parang mas malakas na onte sa regular siguro.
Water. Game na pala kayo. Teka. Paano ba yun? Why? Depart. Kailangan ka kasi. Last. Sige. Mga pag-copy.
Ako, lipat kayo, sir. Oo.
Ikaw at ako, wala nang iba, iniibig kita. Sana palagi mo tatandaan. Ngayon, bukas hanggang sa
Oh, lapit kayo sa airport, di ba? Ay, wow. Oh, matay na.
Oo nga. Ako blank lang din ako dyan eh. Ay, mapatayin pala to. Hindi kailangan ulit. Die.
Kill.
Mas matagal pa ata tumakbo tayo. Ikaw pa hindi nag-curve, no?
Na-end na.
Hi, Wishers. This is first one.
This is Baywances now.
This is Flick.
Dito pala issue. Sige, sir.
Sige.
Uy!
Kape muna ako.
Hindi
Kape.
Ayan. Nice. Baka may magsasave ako pag may nakita ako. Okay.
Ganun, no? Pagka may nakita ka sa i-save mo talaga sa investigation.
Oo.
Tapos
Ako pag
limited
ano,
lang siya.
pag may nakita ako na may gem na sure na gem, sinisave ko palagi. Kahit hindi tempered.
Oo nga.
Sulit yun.
Nga yun. Oo nga. Ganda nung
Sir,
Oo
good
nga,
luck.